Good evening, everyone. This is Bacus, and I'm going to present to you my data analytics presentation. So this is in partial fulfillment in the requirements of PhD IPI 620, which is Advanced Educational Statistics with Computer Applications. Once again, this is Bacus, and I'm going to start my presentation. So the study is entitled The General Weighted Average and Competency Appraisal Result of Engineering Graduates in the University of Mindanao as Predictors for Passing the Engineering Board Exam. Now, what is the significance of this study? So this study may help in the evaluation of the effectiveness of the implementation of competency appraisal. Just so you know, in the University of Mindanao, competency appraisal is just like mock boards or the pre-board examination, and also the general weighted average for ensuring excellent results in the engineering licensure exam. The result may be used as an initial investigation, as a predictor for passing the engineering licensure exam, and as a basis for making changes, guidelines, and teaching strategies to ensure quality engineering education. The competency appraisal average is used as one of the criterion for evaluating students' ability to pass the engineering licensure examination. Competency appraisal, or CA, evaluates students' learning retention over the years in studying engineering courses. Results on the study may help administrators to choose in essential actions to improve performance and quality of education. Students must receive and have a higher passing rate in the engineering board exam. The objectives of this study are: one is to determine the significance of the relationship between general weighted average and engineering board exam results, determine the significance of the relationship between competency appraisal results and engineering board exam results, and to determine the significance of the singular and combined influence of GWAs and CA result in the engineering board exam results. So for the data collection, the data are being used in this data analytics are actually taken from the registrar's office of the University of Mindanao, and also together with the Philippine Regulations Commission, or the PRC. So there were a total of 105 engineering graduates data that were gathered from 2017 to 2019, and each of them provided their board exam average. The GWA, or the General Weighted Average and Competency Appraisal Result, was provided by the Registrar's Office, and they were also provided with a data confidentiality agreement. For the analytical method of this study, mean scores and standard deviation will be utilized to describe CA performances, or the competency appraisal performances, the general weighted average of the students, and the engineering board exam performances of engineering graduates. The Pearson R correlation and multiple regression analysis will also be used in determining the relationship among the competency appraisal performances, the general weighted average, and the engineering licensure exam performances. All the statistical data that will be treated using JASP. A p-value of less than 0.05 will be considered statistically significant for the analysis. So who are our audience, or what are the implications of this study? The first one are the educators and institutions. The general weighted average and competency appraisal results can be useful for educators and educational institutions in assessing the effectiveness of their curriculum and teaching methods. By analyzing the performance, their students in general weighted averages and CA results, educators can identify areas where students may be struggling and modify their teaching approaches to address these challenges. Educational institutions can also use this data to evaluate the overall quality of their programs and make necessary improvement. Number two are the board exam review centers. Review centers that provide preparation courses for board exams can utilize the general weighted average and course assessment results to tailor their instructions to meet the specific needs of their students. By analyzing the performance of students in these assessments, Review centers can design targeted review materials and strategies that address the areas where students are struggling the most. This personalized approach can significantly enhance students' preparations for the board exam. Number three are the licensing and regulatory bodies, specifically the PRC. So licensing and regulatory bodies are responsible for uh, conducting board exams and benefit from GWA and mock board results as predictors of success. By analyzing historical data and trends, these bodies can gain insights into factors that can influence candidates' performance in the exam. This information can help them refine the exam format, adjust passing criteria, or provide additional support to candidates who may be at risk of not passing. Lastly, employers and professional associations. Employers and the professional associations often place value on board certification as an indicator of competence and expertise. The general weighted average and the competency appraisal results can serve as additional evidence of candidates' readiness to enter the profession. Employers may consider these results during the hiring process, while professional associations may use them to grant membership or certifications.
All right. So let me show to you the data analytics that I'm going to analyze. So here it is. We have the general weighted average, of course, competency appraisal, rather, the competency appraisal results, the average of the three subjects that were taken, and the board exam results. So there are 105 data that we gathered here, and we are going to import them into JASP. So here it is. So let's go on the correlation to analyze. So for correlation, dependent variable is the board exam average, together with the C average and the GWA as our variables or independent variables rather. So here we go. After seeing that they are correlated to each other, so we are going to use regression, the linear regression afterwards. So you can see here in the Q3 plot under the residuals. But before that, let us put first board exam average is our dependent variable. Covariates are GWA and the CA average. You can see that the data is normally distributed. And here is the data. On the next slides of this presentation, you can see the analysis of the result.
Now, let us talk about the data and the results and discussions. So this is the descriptives of the study. So generally, the mean score for the board exam average is 72.232, while the GWA is 82.384 with a standard deviation of 3.461, and the competency appraisal result or a mean average score of 75.575% with a standard deviation, of 5.627. Moving on to the correlation between the variables. So as you can see here, this is the Pearson's correlation. Um, Based on the table above, there isn't a multicollinearity, right? Because you can see that there are no uh, CA or the competency appraisal average or score is not does not have a zero point 0.7 and above value. So CA average and GWA are not multicollinear. And you can also see that based on this table, the general weighted average and the competency appraisal average is or are correlated rather to the board exam result. So for the model summary, let me discuss to each of the following. So for the R here, you have 0.549. So the R value using ranges or using our ranges that was used in interpreting Pearson product moment correlation, or the magnitude of the relationship. 0.549 suggests that the relationship between GWA and a competency appraisal result to board exam result is moderately high. So if umabot po siya ng 0.9, 0.8, so yun that will be the time that it's very high or super high. Okay, so how moderately high? No, so since that is the magnitude, r square now is the adjusted r square now, which is 28.7% in the variation of board exam result, can be attributed to the general weighted average and the core competency appraisal result. So ito po, the adjusted r square. Moving on to the ANOVA. Is the collective impact, which is 28.7%, statistically significant. So let us try to look at the ANOVA table. So as you can see, the p-value is less than 0.001, and it suggests that the relationship between the general weighted average and the competency appraisal result to the board exam is statistically significant. Now for the results and discussions for coefficients. So you can see here the unstandardized, standard error, standardized, the t and the p value. So generally, we can see that both p values are less than 0.001. So the unique contributions of GWA and CA average, each of them are predictors for board exam results. So once again, both GWA and the CA or competency appraisal result has a value of P or a p-value of less than 0.001, which confirms that these two independent variables are statistically significant to the dependent variable, which is the board exam result. Okay, now how do we appreciate this? Let's try to look at the simulation that I'm going to show. So once again, the table is shown here. So let's say for example, you have actually the GWA here is our X1, the CA or the competency appraisal average is our X2, and our intercept is this one, 2.885. So we can build a model with this table actually. So you have 2.885 plus the X1 multiplied by the GWA plus the standardized of unstandardized of 0.301 multiplied by the ZA result. Let's say, for example, you have a GWA of 83 and a CA result of 85. So given the model, we will have a Y value or the board exam result as a 75.448%, in which it is passed in the licensure exam. In conclusion to that data that was being interpreted, so there is a statistically significant relationship between the general weighted average and engineering board exam result. The coefficient for the general weighted average independent variable is 0.566 with a standard error of 0.139. This indicates that for a 1 unit increase in GWA, the dependent variable, which is board exam result, is expected to increase of 0.566 units on average. This coefficient is statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001, suggesting that GWA has a significant effect on the board exam results. There is statistically significant relationship between competency appraisal result and engineering board exam result. The coefficient for the competency appraisal average independent variable is 0.301 with a standard error of 0.086. This suggests that for a 1 unit increase in the CA average or the competency appraisal result, the dependent variable is expected to increase by 0.301 units by then on average. This coefficient is statistically significant with a p-value of less than 0.001, indicating that the competency appraisal result has a significant effect on the board exam results. Lastly, Objective 3. So there is a statistically significant relationship of the singular and combined influence of the general weighted average and competency appraisal result in the engineering board exam results. The coefficient of determination, once again, which is the R squared for the model, is 0.301. So that's 30.1% approximately of the variance in the dependent variable, which is the board exam result, can be explained by the independent variables, which are the GWA and the competency appraisal results included in the model, which are included in the model. So the adjusted R square, which is 0.287, which takes into account the number of predictors and sample size. This indicates that 28.7% once again of the variance in the dependent variable or board exam result is explained by the independent variables, which are GWA and the competency appraisal result, considering the complexity of the model. Collectively, both the independent variables, competency appraisal result, and GWA is statistically significant with the board exam result with a p-value of less than 0.001. So what can we recommend out of these uh, of the data analytics that was presented? So we should develop mechanisms in improving the conduct of competency appraisal examinations or CA examination programs in the College of Engineering Education of the University of Mindanao. And also, we may also look for other predictors that affect the dependent variable, which is the board exam result. That will be all with my presentation. Thank you very much. Once again, this is John A. Bacus.